I'm your host, John. On today's episode, I want to talk about staying positive, and I'm going to put the staying in quotations because I don't think anybody stays positive all the time. And this is coming off obviously the back of episode 12, what's going on in the world, and in that episode I'll talk about obviously the overwhelming feeling of negativity coming across in the world. Not just from what's portrayed in the media, but how people are treating each other in a day-to-day, from what I witness anyway. It's very rare that you have a wholesome experience within society or have a pleasant time with people that you don't know. Again, it could be the fact that I've just had a lot of negative emotion lately that I'm feeling this way, but I think a lot of the people in the world at the minute are feeling that same kind of struggle and squeeze mentally. So I want to talk about that. And me personally, I got hit with a massive wave of stress earlier today, which is quite ironic considering the idea of this episode. But I think that's the best time to talk about it, is when you're not necessarily in a positive place, because then you know how you're coping with it, and I know how I'm coping with it, or how I tend to cope with it. So obviously there's many things that are going to cause us stress in life, and some of them we can control, some of them we can't, and it's down to us to be wise enough to choose between them. But they're always going to come up. And that's why I don't think you can stay positive all the time. You're always going to wobble and you're always going to find struggle, but it doesn't mean that it's over or that you can't go on and things won't get better. There's always that ebb and flow in life. It's just right now it feels like there's an imbalance in society. I've kind of been mulling over this idea of a life kaleidoscope, or the kaleidoscope of life, where it's this ever-changing positive and negative flow between one another, just constantly moving back and forth. And that's the best way I can kind of articulate it at the minute, that throughout all of these changing times, and there's going to be good and bad times, and it's down to us to navigate through them. And I think it's falsely perceived that, there might be some people that are positive 100% of the time. Fair play, hats off to you, please tell me how you do it. I think everybody would like to be positive all the time. But through my experience, it's up and down. And sometimes it goes up and 5 minutes later it's down, and vice versa. But as long as you can kind of have this anchor point in yourself of knowing that whatever you're going through is temporary, and if there are things that you can do, taking the responsibility to do them and take that action to make your life better, or make the situation better, the world better. Once you've taken those actions, that positive feeling starts to come back, and that stress and anxiety goes away. Maybe not completely, but once you know that you've done what you can, at least then the kind of self-guilt side of things eases off. And that's just part of managing your own emotions and managing your own life. So I don't think it is a case of staying positive, but it's a case of knowing how to correct back to positive and navigate your way through the minefields of life. There's always going to be things that happen that change you from your path, and it's down to you to bring it back. If you want to live a happy life, nobody else is, nobody else is obligated to make that happen for you, barring you. So take the responsibility and take that action. But once you've done that, it's far easier to control the positivity that you witness. Once you're aware that I am the master of my emotions. Whether that means you can control them or not, they're always going to come. But once you have the tools to manage those emotions and understand how you feel in each situation, then you can navigate the waters to live the life that you want to live. Like I say, earlier on today, I got hit with a massive wave of stress like I haven't had in a long time. And I live quite a stressful life, quite a hectic life. But that wave of stress just hit me from nowhere. And I didn't know why until I let it sit with me for a second and kind of got outside of myself. At the end of the day, I understand that I'm the one that's causing my stress. In the immediate, everything is okay. But what's going on in my head, the thoughts and the scenarios that my head is playing out are causing me stress. So I need to get out beyond that in order to understand why I'm doing this to myself, and then manage that to get myself back to that positive state. Now, this is all within a couple of hours of being stressed out to high heaven and just wanting to rage outburst, to then sitting down and discussing managing that and managing your emotions in general. Again, because I could stop and kind of take inventory of my emotions and find out what to attribute to each emotion and why I'm feeling this way and what I can do to counteract it, and then took action, those feelings of stress start to decrease because you know you've at least done something. And again, it's your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So when you get these feelings of discomfort and stress and anxiety, if you can find the cause and address the cause, that feeling or emotion has no sense in being anymore. So it has to go. It's been dealt with. But when you're avoiding dealing with it, it's only going to grow. So the biggest part of staying positive or being positive is learning how to manage that and understanding yourself. If you don't understand why you're feeling like you're feeling, how are you going to fix anything? How's anything ever going to change if you don't understand the situation? Very much like in the last episode when I was discussing about the problems in the world, unless we're conscious of the problems in the world, as painful or as horrific as some of them may be, we're never going to be able to fix them. So there is a level of discomfort that we are all going to have to go through in order to reach that level of positivity, because you can't live a life of ignorance and naivety and expect to be happy, because you're relying on somebody else for your happiness in that situation, because you don't know what's causing your happiness. So be the cause of your own happiness. Be the cause of your own positivity. That's probably the best advice that I can give for this episode. There really is, to me at the minute anyway, no way to stay positive 100% of the time. So learning to manage it is your best bet. The better you get at managing that and understanding your emotions and why you're feeling like you're feeling, and then taking action behind it, on a scale of averages, you're more than likely going to be positive more than you are negative. So you could argue you're staying positive. I don't want to get into technicalities. But to me, that is the sentiment behind it, and that's how I manage my stress and how I try to stay positive. Is by, when I do face these problems, I step outside of myself and try to have an objective view and see what I can control, what I can do. And if there is something I can do and I can control, then I do it. And there's no reason for me not to do it, because it is in my control. And then if I don't do it, I annoy myself, because I know it is my responsibility, and then I've become my own problem. And I'm fine with other people being the problem. Again, you can't control other people's actions, only your own. But if I'm the problem, well, I can control my actions. So I need to stop being the problem and I need to sort that out. And that's the biggest thing I do to overcome these problems, is take responsibility for them. The buck has to stop somewhere. There's a kind of word game I like to play with people, and it may be hard to do solo, but hey, let's give it a go. If your car breaks down, whose fault is it? If you're late to work, whose fault is it? If you get fired, whose fault is it? If your life is a mess, whose fault is it? Now, the answer to every one of those should more or less be the same. I say more or less because I'm aware that this is going out on the internet, and there are people that would have had many situations in their life. So I'm trying to tiptoe back around a few things. But it is your life at the end of the day. It is your responsibility. No matter what happens in your life, it is yours. It is your life, so take responsibility for it. Again, other people's actions you can't control, but yours you can. You can control how you respond to them. You can control how you react to each situation. You can control the decisions you make if you have the awareness to do so. And to me, it is your responsibility to have the self-awareness to pursue your life happiness. And if everyone done this, the world should hopefully be a better place. There's always going to be variables, don't get me wrong. But I think for the majority of us, we all want to live in a safe, happy, peaceful world. And it is possible. But we just have to pursue it. And I'm going to leave it there on that one. So the seed for today's episode is going to be, next time you kind of feel those emotions of getting stressed out or overwhelmed, try a step outside of yourself and see what you can do to take control of the situation. Again, it's not going to be everything. You may not be able to fix the whole situation, but try to find something that is within your control and take action against it. And see how that goes towards changing how you're feeling and overcoming those feelings of stress and anxiety. It all starts with the small actions. There will be something that you can control. So start there. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.